Hey guys, welcome to Anfield Index Pro. We have an end of season review special, and I have a special guest. If you're watching us on YouTube, you know who it is. If you're not and you're listening to the podcast, it is the boss, the king, the awesome dude himself, Mr. Eddie Gibbs. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Nina. It's a Sunday morning, and I certainly don't feel as fresh as that introduction makes me sound. That's for sure.
Oh, I'm sure you'll live up to the expectations. And speaking of Liverpool and expectations, so I'm going to take you back down memory lane, and the whole Jurgen Klopp farewell at Anfield on the last home game of the season, and him chanting Arne Slot's name, and then Arne Slot comes in. There's not been much activity in the transfer window. Zubimendi slipped through the fingers. Me personally, I was a bit anxious and a bit nervous about what the season might hold. But here we are, Eddie. It's June. It's a Sunday morning. The sun is shining, and Liverpool are champions. What were your expectations when he came in? And how surprised are you?
Very surprised. I think I had some calls with some people. I spoke to Dave Hendrick a couple of times last summer. I'm just trying to think back. I only heard about the Arne Slot thing probably about 3 days before it kind of became known that he was going to be before Jurgen sung. I think a few of us were kind of aware by then, and obviously the singing of the song I think took everyone back because no one expected that because the club hadn't announced anything by that stage. So it was Jurgen effectively announcing it, even though the rumours were quite strong. And I think Slot was doing his goodbyes at Feyenoord around the same time because they had a match, so he was doing that. But I had kind of looked at the season with Jurgen going, with Slot coming in, and a lot of people will castigate Gary Neville for his predictions, saying that he tipped Liverpool to finish fifth or fourth, and I thought exactly the same. So it's easy to say in hindsight, but I'll be honest, I didn't expect anything like what we just saw. I thought Liverpool would be looking at a challenge to finish in the Champions League spots. I thought Man City and Arsenal would be the top two, and then I thought with the work that Chelsea had done, with the work that even the likes of Newcastle, I thought that was a sort of mix that Liverpool were going to be in. Even Aston Villa as well. I thought that we would be fighting it out with them, especially with not strengthening. But I guess it shows how little in the end we know about football. You know what I mean? We watch games, we analyze games, we speak about games, we write about games, but we're not professionals, we're fans. You know what I mean? And it shows that the people that came back into the club, your Michael Edwards, your Julian Ward, and then bringing in Arne Slot, they knew, Richard Hughes as well. These guys knew what they were doing. You know what I mean? The proof's in the pudding. The fact that they've obviously brought Ruben Peters in as well to look after the fitness side, and that seems to have paid off. Liverpool have won the league, and it's quite an incredible achievement. It really is, and we'll bask in the glory of that all summer. What Arne Slot did was amazing. I mean, there's no words to describe how special it is, because none of us expected this. And normally you get a few fans that say that they expected it, but I think almost unanimously everyone expected top four, maybe a top four challenge. Pundits are wide. I mean, again, the BBC guys have all been slammed for their preseason predictions, and it's good to be able to have poke some fun at that. But I think if Liverpool fans are being realistic, we all thought exactly the same. So we shouldn't pretend on that front. So no, brilliant, absolutely amazing season from Arne Slot.
I have to agree with you. And you kind of mentioned some teams there like Newcastle and Aston Villa, and those kind of teams would be in the mix. I actually thought United would have done so much more better. I was actually really worried about their transfer window with some of the planning players that they, signed this summer, with the likes of Yoro, the young defender. And, it was just one of those where I'm absolutely shocked at how well we did considering the very little activity. But yeah, you're right. I think, I didn't expect it as well. I was like, Slot gets a free hit this season. I know nothing about him. Just let him do what he needs to do. We need to be patient. And I think as Liverpool supporters, we do tend to have a lot of that with our managers. So yeah, really pleasantly surprised. Let's see what happens. But Eddie, so Arne Slot really impressed you. I think he's shocked a lot of people. Who was the player that impressed you the most? Like, who do you think was the symbolic player that kind of defined this season for Liverpool, who really stepped it up?
Well, I think you'll get a unanimous answer to this one. I'll be shocked if anyone doesn't mention Mohamed Salah, because the season that he's had is just one from the gods. You just don't deliver these numbers. And again, it was another one that surprised me. I think back to that West Ham game away at West Ham the season before in Klopp's final season, and the spat that he had with Mohamed Salah on the sidelines. Salah was a sub that day, and he came on, and he's really not really done much since the end of AFCON. He'd obviously picked up that injury, and he came back, and he never really looked himself. And I remember sitting watching that game and thinking to myself, this is it for him. He might stay one more season for the transition, but it'll be a shadow of the player that we've grown to love over the years. And if any, then he'll swan off to Saudi on a free transfer. That was very much what my expectation was on the Salah sort of career trajectory at that point. And for him to come in and do what he's done, the assists, the goals, the hunger, the standard setting, everything that he's done this season has just been absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it really is his season. That it's difficult because there's so many others that have contributed. It's unfair. It's unfair in some ways to not give them their flowers as well. But what he's done this season is absolutely sensational. I mean, and if Liverpool hadn't took their foot off the gas once the league got won, I dread to think what the sort of records that would have been left in his wake, because his numbers are just unbelievable. And we are so lucky to have him, and so lucky to have witnessed what he did last season. Even if he drops off a little bit with another year on the age bracket next season, you still feel that he's going to be able to deliver at some sort of level again that's going to just going to blow our minds, even if it does drop off just a little bit. So it's no, quite right that he got that contract. I'm delighted that he did. I'm delighted that we get to see him for another 2 seasons, certainly another season. We don't know what will happen, obviously, as the years pass, but I think we're very lucky to be witnessing what we're witnessing, because this is a special player, and he seems to be extending his peak years. There is no drop off. Certainly not yet, anyway. So let's just revel in that and enjoy the moments when we watch back the clips from this season. You're going to be able to enjoy those Salah clips forevermore, because he had a truly special season.
I think it's really hard to disagree, Eddie. And I think even opposition fans this season would struggle to disagree with you, because finally he got the respect that he deserved. You know, this was the season.
He did, and he's going to win all the awards as well. So I mean, that there's no one to even compete with him for these awards. The only one that would even be close is Virgil, and he'd be well back. You know what I mean? So it's quite as you say, the sort of universal acclaim that he's now receiving on the back of this season is something that he fully deserves and should have had years ago.
100%, the most disrespected player in the Premier League, and and he's an actual icon as well, which is baffling. So Eddie, what was your favourite moment of the season? I've enjoyed asking this question, Eddie, because I've had such a diverse response to this. Some of it is football related, some of it could be quite personal. For me, one of my favourite moments, and I've shared it on the pod, and I'll share it again because I just loved it, was potentially the Arne Slot unveiling picture. His first photo shoot when he's holding his the viral. Yeah, I just love that picture, and I love how it made the rounds on social media. Like, how could we question this guy's aura?
Well, it's from one question about the most important player, I suppose, to this, which would be a fairly unanimous one, to this one, which will get a whole wide range of answers, I imagine. For me, it's not a game; it's a period, and it's the period where we played Man City and Real Madrid. And that was in November, where you thought this Liverpool team is the best team in Europe. You know what I mean? We'd had that allegation thrown at us up until then, pretty much constantly. They've never played anyone. You know what I mean? They'll drop off. The Arsenal fans were absolutely adamant they would drop off in the league. Man City were starting to. That was just before they kind of really started to struggle. So it wasn't, obviously they'd had no Rodri by then, but it was, those 2 games were absolutely pivotal, because Liverpool playing so many games in the space of so many days, and everyone thought this is where the wheels will come off, and they didn't. In fact, the car just went faster. So it was that was the moment of the season for me. That was where I really thought to myself, we're onto something here, and this guy really knows his stuff, because of the way he controlled those 2 games. And Liverpool looked unflustered in them both. There was no real jeopardy in either of them, and obviously I suppose that's a little bit unfair. When Mbappe missed the penalty, there was probably a bit of jeopardy there, but Liverpool, Salah missed a penalty in that game as well, so it was one off, one on. But it's I think that is the period for me that is the one that will be my moment of the season, because it was the realization for me that Liverpool are the real deal.
Oh, yeah, it was a really good period, to be fair. It was a real fun time to be supporting Liverpool. It was just like, but you know, when that was going on, Eddie, it was so funny because I was still like, we're doing so well, but I got to stay humble. I got to stay grounded because it can turn. You know, like I was loving what I was watching, but I had to really keep myself centered and not get over like showboaty, because I think we've seen Arsenal fans where it's blown up in their faces so many times. And I was like, you need to temper things because we literally know nothing. I know nothing about Arne Slot or what could potentially happen. We don't know about injuries. So I was holding it together. But I do agree that was, I remember feeling very good as a Liverpool supporter. I mean, all season, but in that period, I'm glad you highlighted that. And I don't think I've heard anyone else say it, Eddie. So yeah, fair play to you. I like that one. So you spoke about your favourite moment, and there were some key matches in there as well. So my next question to you, Eddie, is which match do you think defined Liverpool's title win? You know, if there was a specific match that you thought that is stuff of champions.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have said that game that I just mentioned, the Man City one at home, but I would go further down in the season. I would go to the Man City away, the one at the Etihad, because Liverpool had to play a completely different style that day, and it was a style no one expected. It was backs to the wall. It was let City have the ball, confident that they wouldn't break us down. And Slot adapted the game. I mean, even after the game, he wasn't particularly enthused by it. The way he spoke about it after the game, it wasn't like it was a standout game for him. He was actually quite critical of the way Liverpool played. I think he thought that maybe they went too far the other way, to sit back with a block more and let City have more of the ball than he would have liked. But for me, going through the different styles that he did in that game, the different tactics he deployed at different times to make sure Liverpool got that result, because the result was all that mattered there. And I think we've spoke about it in the past, where West Ham had beaten Arsenal the day before, and that was probably, if there is a game, it's probably that one, you know what I mean? But we'd have to use a Liverpool one, so I'm going to go to the next day, because I remember I didn't watch that Arsenal West Ham game. I was listening to it in the car. I had to go and do something. Normally, I never listen to.
It was a 3 o'clock kickoff, so it's quite hard. Sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure I could have been. I found a way if I'd needed to, but it was. I never listened to games on the radio as such, and it flashed up on my phone that West Ham had scored, and then I don't think I even turned it on at that point. And then it flashed up that I think Arsenal had a man sent off. Was it Trossard was sent off? And I thought to myself, oh, I'll just turn this on and listen to it on the radio. And it was I was driving, so it was kind of just one of those things to listen to in the background. Once they'd done it, you still thought, oh well, we've got a free hit tomorrow now. Doesn't matter if we lose at Man City. It doesn't matter if we draw at Man City, but we didn't. We went and beat them, and we beat them in a way that Liverpool haven't played in any other game all season. Completely different approach, completely different tactical setup from Slot. So for me, that was a game that made me think Liverpool are going to win this league. There's nothing to stop us almost now. Yeah, I mean, it was already a case of the only thing that could have stopped us was ourselves. Maybe some injuries or some drop off, but at that point, you knew it wasn't going to happen. And I think that was the first time that the fans sort of on voice saying, we're going to win the league. So I think most were on board at that point as well. So no, it was that one. It was the Man City away game where, well, not the most enjoyable of games, but certainly the one that made me think Liverpool are going to do this now.
Oh, okay. So my next question to you was, which game kind of cemented it in your heart that Liverpool were going to become champions? Was it that one then?
No, it wasn't. It was probably that one that confirmed it. But the one that made me think they were going to do it was the one away at Spurs around the Christmas period. That was the one that made me think they are going to win this. But obviously, you still got a lot of doubts in your mind because you're still sort of 4 months out from the end of the season. You know what I mean? You're only just into the second half of the season, so it wasn't. And that was actually the first time we played Spurs, so we probably weren't even at the halfway point then. So it was that game that made me think this is a team of champions. I mean, I think we were 5-1 up after something like 50 minutes or 60 minutes or something. It was like incredible. It's like if Liverpool hadn't taken their foot off the gas, that could have easily been a 6 or 7. Easily, they were absolutely dominant that day, and Spurs just had no plan on how to deal with Liverpool at all. So that was the one that I suppose that's more performance and result, because the performance was absolutely sensational, and that was almost like this team should win the league, whereas the Man City game that I spoke about earlier, this team will win the league.
Yes, yeah, I agree. I love that. I actually had a lot of joy against Spurs this season because it's so funny, because that was the moment where you were like, yeah, they're going to win the league, and lo and behold, at Anfield against Spurs, they did.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, it's mad how things work. So, we got your favourite moments, we've got your favourite player, we got your favourite matches and when you thought Liverpool were gonna win the league. Honestly, I don't know. I think it's fair to say he didn't really use his squad an awful lot. He had a key set of players that he used. We didn't really utilize the bench much as well. And I feel like maybe if there was more players that he trusted on that bench, maybe we could have potentially won a little bit more. Maybe when we had that little bit of a, that little bit of a wobble, maybe it could have been managed and handled better had he had players that he trusted. So all those things considered, Eddie, who was your unsung hero? It's phenomenal that they became champions with how limited he was, but who's the player that you feel like doesn't get enough credit, or you want to just give him the credit for how instrumental and how important he was for this season?
Well, honourable mention straight away to the one that most people will say, which would be Wataru Endo, because when Slot did start trusting his squad a bit more, or started needing his squad a bit more, he did start using him. And I think there was that stat that went around for a while that Liverpool had never conceded a goal once he had been brought onto the field. So it was, that was working when Slot decided to trust him a bit more. So I was really delighted to see that. But for me, the unsung hero and the one that's not got enough credit for his contribution to the season was Kelleher. Obviously, he's now gone. We've not got him anymore. He's been sold to Brentford, and fair play to him. I wrote something on Twitter last week that went down really well. It was almost an open letter to him for how impressed I had been with what he had done, certainly throughout his Liverpool career, but this season especially. When Alisson gets injured, to have someone like that be able to come in and for the level not to drop to a stage where Liverpool fans are in panic about the man that's in the goal. And some of the saves he pulled off were Alisson-esque. They were really incredible. And it shows how well we must coach these goalkeepers and the ethos that's instilled with all of them, that he was able to deliver on that level. And I think he played something like 12 games in the end, which is that's a big chunk of the season, 12 games. And we really didn't notice that Alisson wasn't there. And he's the best goalkeeper in the
busy period as well, your moment of the season as well. He was full.
Exactly. Yeah, these games, the Man City one, the Real Madrid one, the penalty save against Mbappe. I think he played it. I think he played away at Arsenal, did he as well? Like Alisson had got injured at Crystal Palace, so Yaros actually came on that day, didn't he? Because Kelleher wasn't even on the bench. So it just shows you the sort of weird quirks. And then Kelleher came in, and I thought he was absolutely sensational. I mean, you really, really didn't notice a drop off, and we didn't lose games in that period either, which just shows you how well he did. So it was him for me. He's the one that I was so delighted to see him win that league before he had to go, because otherwise he would never have got that moment to celebrate the league in front of fans, and he absolutely deserved it. And I hope he goes on and has a wonderful career. I really do, because I think that lad's been absolutely first class.
Yeah, and we talk about his class on the pitch, but off it as well. Like, he just struck me as somebody that didn't really create a ruckus or no drama. He obviously knew his potential and how good he was, but was quite happy to fill in as and when he wanted to. And I think we have to give kind of a big shout out to his attitude and how he applied himself at the club as well. And I think every Liverpool fan absolutely adored him, loved him. Most importantly, felt very confident when Alisson would get injured, and it was a fair bit. And the second came in, and we were just kind of like, yeah, we've got Kelleher, it's good. We'll be fine, we'll be grand. I don't think anyone had any grumbles or murmurs about him, bar that maybe that little blip that he had against Newcastle. I think that is it. That is literally it. And he has played an awful lot of games for Liverpool. So you know what? Credit to him, and I do wish him all the best. But just not against Liverpool, Eddie. And I think we're all fair in saying that. But let's move on now, Eddie. So we've kind of highlighted that Slot really didn't trust his players, and only towards the end. And there were certain players he started trusting. Let's just be honest. So they won the league. The transfer news and activity is looking very promising for Liverpool. I'm liking who we're being linked to. I like who we've got over the finish line as well in Frimpong. Where do you think Liverpool need to strengthen, and what do you kind of expect them to do this transfer window?
Okay, so I think a lot of what's going on has probably been planned well in advance, but I still think the two games that highlight why we're doing this is the loss to PSG at Anfield, that knocked us out of the Champions League, and the game against Newcastle where we lost that Carabao Cup final in that week. So that all happened over the space of 4 or 5 days, and that was on the back of Liverpool pretty much solidifying that they were going to win the league, because they had 5 Premier League games in 15 days, if I remember rightly, and that was where we knew that they were going to win the league. There was almost no doubt about it by that stage. Then they had that period where they looked exhausted from the PSG game and then the Newcastle one, and that was not like a slot Liverpool. That wasn't what we had become used to. You're watching it, and they were devoid of ideas. They didn't really have anything going for them. And I mean, they only lost the PSG one on penalties in the end, and the Newcastle one, they almost got back into it towards the end, but they didn't play well in either of those games, really, truth be told. So I think a lot of what's going on now with transfers is a result of that, because I think Slot knows, as much as he didn't trust his squad, if he wants to compete on the two main fronts and the two sort of bonus fronts, the four fronts that we always describe, then he needs to be able to use his squad more. Now, he's not stupid. He's going to know that. You know what I mean? So it's like, what do we do to achieve that? So transfers are going to be the way they're going to do it largely. I mean, I still expect we'll see a lot of Connor Bradley at right back. I really do. I think Frimpong may be used more as a sort of, certainly to start with, as more of a substitute coming on for Bradley if we want to attack more. He'll bring Frimpong on, or he'll take it, as much as he's going to hate it, he's going to start taking Salah off a bit more, and that's maybe where he brings Frimpong on that side, and that maybe solidifies things a little bit more and exploits his pace against tired defenders towards the end of the game. So I'm kind of guessing that's might what happened there. The left back has needed upgraded for a couple of years, and I love Andy Robertson. He's captain of my country. You know what I mean? He's as diehard a Scot as you'll find. I absolutely love Andrew Robertson, and again, I've written something on that this week, and it's a shame, but time catches up with them all. And it's not that Robertson's an old player, because he's not. I think he's only 30, 31. He's not old at all, but he has so many miles in those legs. And he really dropped off last season, and he probably dropped off a bit the season before, if we're being honest as well. So
maybe him as well, hasn't it? It's not even a physical one. I feel like he's had a few brain fart moments.
Like I do as well. I mean, he was at the scene of the crime so many times. So what you're hoping is that if Robertson is going to stay, and I think he will, I think it will be probably Tsimikas that is sold. I'm not saying that's right, but I think that's what will happen. I think that we see Robertson play a bit less, and if Robertson's content with that, with Milos Kerkez coming in on that left side, and they kind of share the role, then maybe we'll all see a bit more of an improvement for Robertson, where he's not being flogged. Because every time he goes away with Scotland as well, we flog him into the ground as well. He'll play 3 internationals in a week. You know what I mean? He is Mr. Duracell Bunny. You know what I mean? He is used over and over and over again. And I think that's why a quality left back coming in Kerkez that plays more to the style that Slot obviously has in mind with these marauding fullbacks, almost like what we saw in the first Klopp iteration with Trent on one side and Robertson on the other, the younger players bombing on, creating crosses, creating passes into the box. I think that's what we're going to see a bit more, and that seems to maybe be inspired a bit by the pace that we were up against PSG when we lost that game, and I think that might be a bit of a motivating factor for Arne Slot there. So those moves, to me, they had to happen, obviously, with Trent going and with the left back needed to have been addressed. It should have been addressed before now. So Liverpool are now addressing that, which is great. The other one, which is Wirtz, and it is a V rather than a W. We'll have to get used to that one. I think all of us Liverpool fans as the season goes. So it's Wirtz, they pronounce it. That one I didn't see coming at all. I think I actually wrote a piece when the rumours first sort of surfaced, sort of 2-3 weeks ago, that I thought that one was just fantasy, because I just didn't see Bayern Munich not buying him. I thought that was just written in
the given how they operate in that league. Agreed.
Yeah, I thought that was good. That was nailed on. So I wrote something around that time saying it was almost rooted in fantasy, that Liverpool, there's no way that Liverpool gets player. And I got some information from a source the next day that kind of told me, no, it's happening. You know what I mean? Liverpool are going to get, and that was just before that he travelled to the UK to whatever he was doing on that flight. So it was that was around that time, and we kind of got told this is nailed on. Liverpool are buying this player; it's going to happen, and that's why certainly on Twitter and on Discord and the different communities now, I've been so confident on that one ever since then. And I know people have been getting a panic. I mean, it's still not done even now as we speak. It's but I don't think any Liverpool fans have got anything to worry about. This deal's going to happen. Wirtz is going to be signing for Liverpool, and it might happen in the next few days. So I don't think you should get too hung up on transfer window 1 and transfer window 2. I know a lot of people are, that they want these deals done before the end of transfer window 1. That window is only really for the Club World Cup teams. They need to confirm those players before that window closes, or they won't be able to play for them in the Club World Cup. Liverpool aren't playing in it. So the transfer window 1-2 thing, it doesn't really make any difference. The only difference it has made is that Liverpool have had to move now for guys that they could have probably moved for later in the window, because other clubs may have been interested in taking them and taking them to the Club World Cup. So it's brought Liverpool. Liverpool have had to act fast. That's the only thing that the Club World Cup has impacted. Liverpool have had to move for Wirtz now, because if they didn't, then he may have gone to Man City or Bayern Munich, because both of them are playing in the Club World Cup. So that's why we've had to go for Wirtz now if we wanted him. We would normally have probably strung that out for a few weeks, strong negotiations all through the summer, knowing that Liverpool don't play again a competitive game until August. They don't even show up to pre-season training towards the end of July. So it's in the middle of July. So it was one of those that you Liverpool, in a normal world, that transfer would have lasted all summer, but because of the Club World Cup, Liverpool's plans have all been brought forward. Again, they didn't want to have to compete for Kirkes. They didn't want to have to compete with Frimpong. So they've got those deals done. Now what they'll have to do is go into a period where they're selling players in order to fund whatever comes next. And we don't know we don't know who's going to go. We know that Harvey Elliott may go. We know that Darwin Núñez may go. Luis Diaz may even go. Federico Chiesa may go, but until these deals are metastasized into actual reality, where Liverpool know what fee they're getting, they know what wages they're freeing up from their books, then I think the transfer talk now of incomings will go on a go slow until later in the window, until we see what's going to happen with the outgoings. I think in an ideal world, they'd have sold Darwin Núñez to Saudi before this Club World Cup, and that would have been another one done. But so far, we've obviously sold Kelleher, who's gone. And that's brought in, and Trent, we got money for Trent in the end as well, which was unexpected. So that's effectively paid for Frimpong already. So, I mean, they seem to be acting quite smart. So in terms of what they're doing transfer-wise, I can't complain. It's been a pleasant surprise. But if you look at the logic behind it and the way I just described it with the Club World Cup and with the two windows, I think we can see why this has happened.
Agreed. It's watch this space, and it's going to be a fun transfer window. So, Eddie, my final question. Can Liverpool win the league, and can they win the Champions League too next season, given the fact that we have a successful transfer window? Or your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, you've got to think so. You know what I mean? I mean, we do this for fun. You know what I mean? We're Liverpool fans for fun and hopes and dreams and expectations. And right now, you have to think with what the business that they're doing and the position that they're coming into the next season from, that Liverpool are going to be certainly favourites to win the Premier League. They have to be favourites to win the Premier League, because so much is going on at other clubs that would make that you think that Liverpool are still going to have the edge on them. They still won the league by 9 points from Arsenal in the end. You know what I mean? Even though it wasn't a massive points total in the end, which it could have been. In terms of the Champions League, it's a cup competition. You know what I mean? The best team doesn't always win the Champions League. We've seen that in so many seasons. Even in 2005, when Liverpool won it, we weren't the best team. We weren't even close to being the best team in that competition. So it's a cup competition. These things can happen. But I would say yes. Right now, you've got to be confident. I think there's one massive caveat though that we have to put on all of this, is that we need our key players to stay fit. Virgil van Dijk and Mohamed Salah could have played every single Premier League game last season. I mean, they didn't, but they could have done. So they weren't injured. So you've got that. I think Virgil van Dijk would have played every game if he'd played the game at Brighton. That's unheard of. So it shows how fit he's been. It shows how many minutes Mo Salah played. He was rarely substituted either. So I think as long as those guys, and probably Alisson now, because we don't have Kelleher anymore. Obviously, we're bringing in Mamardashvili, and we hope he'll be as good as Kelleher, if not better. But we don't know what's going to happen with him. So we could really do with Alisson staying fit for next season. And I think as long as you keep that spine fit, then you've got a great chance of winning the league again. It's a massive thing to keep those guys fit. So that's what the hope has to be, because they're the best in the world in their positions. So you keep them fit, the world's your oyster. We could certainly win both, and I hope we do.
I think we all do. I watch this space, you know. I agree with you completely on that one, by the way, as well. I think obviously just having a bigger squad as well, if those transfers get done as well, having the right personnel to come in to kind of manage those cup games as well. I completely agree with you, Eddie. Eddie, it has been an absolute honour, pleasure speaking to you. I've loved your questions. I've loved your answers. Something different to think about, you know, and I think a lot of Liverpool supporters would appreciate that. I am before I let you go, Eddie. Just a quick one. What can Liverpool fans expect from Anfield Index?
Well, it's a busy time for us. It's very strange that the games end and we get busier. It's surreal, but it's the nature of the beast in terms of fan media content and the fact that we kind of toe the line of the mainstream media. And when transfers happen, that's a time of the year where we get our most busy. A lot more resources have to go into running Anfield Index in the summer months. It's just the way it is. It's hard because people are on holiday and everyone's trying to get a bit of downtime and switch off from the sort of normal routine of the football. But people have a clamoring for transfers and we have to feed that monster. It's just the way it is. So we've got it's busy. Obviously there's this series that's been done over the past couple of weeks. Dave Hendrick had his audio series as well, which was called Only the League. If you haven't listened to that, do make a point of going to anfieldindex.com/podcasts, where you can get all of the content for free with ads. We do have anfieldindexpro.com, which is your option to get all of our podcasts with 0 ads. We did increase the price on that this week. So if you haven't seen that, that is something that Greg emailed everyone out. That's the first time we've done that since 2017 when we started the service. And if you think to yourself, what could you buy in 2017 for the same price that you can now? There's very little. And we're still cheaper than most other premium level paywalled fan media content. And we give so much more out for free than those other platforms as well. So it seemed like the logical thing to do. It was kind of the only thing we could do because costs have escalated obviously within that sort of 7-year period, and we'd never put the price up. And we tried everything to avoid doing it. We tried adding more ads to web pages and more ads to podcasts and things like that. But in the end, the inevitability's caught up with us probably 2 years after it really should have done. And so we have increased prices. I think it's $6.99 now for a monthly subscription to Anfield Index Pro, and $59.99 if you want to do it for the year. So that's a premium offering. That does get you access to the VIP areas of our Discord community as well, which are very, very busy around transfer time. And the little bits of information we pick up from sources and stuff in advance, we do put in there. They don't go on social media or anything like that, but we do put them in there for the subscribers. So you do get to share in a little bit of inside knowledge that we get from time to time. It's not everything, but it's something. So that's in the Discord community in the VIP sections. And of course, you do get all the podcasts without the adverts as well, and in full. There's no cuts on the shows. They're released in full, just like this one will be. So that's going on there. We've also got something new that's starting in the next few days. I hoped to have done it this weekend, but I haven't got around to it. And it's called It Was Always Liverpool. And that's on the back of Virgil van Dijk's quote when he signed his new contract a few weeks ago. And what it is, it's going to be a Substack page, and it's going to be a Substack page for Anfield Index content, but we're giving it a new brand because we're going to try and expand It Was Only into different areas as well. But we're starting with Liverpool, and a lot of the articles are done. So it's written content, it's premium written content from a lot of writers you'll know. Eventually we're speaking to people and trying to bring people on board just now, some of the names that you'll know. But the idea is it's ad free, it's 0 ads, written form content. So on anfieldindex.com, obviously you've got lots of articles, but they're all funded by advertising. On the Substack page, it's going to be itwasalwaysliverpool.com. That's going to be the domain name for that. And you'll find those articles have 0 ads on them, and they're not just sort of 600 to 800 words. They're sort of 1,500 words, 2,000, 3,000 words in some cases, much longer form content as well. So that's coming soon, and it's going to be free initially. We're not going to charge anything for it initially until we see how it does. So it's going to be a Substack page, but it's going to be completely open and free to all. So there is going to be benefits if you subscribe and decide to pay, but it's not going to be on the content. You'll still get the full content. So that's something that we plan to launch in the next few days. A lot of work's been going into that over the past week. So that's just something to look out for over the next few days. Obviously, I don't know when this podcast coming out, so it might already be available by the time you listen to this, but that's kind of a little insight into what's going on. And that's about it, really. I'm going to try and get a bit of downtime at some point. I'm not quite sure when yet, probably mid-July, but it's there's so much going on right now that we have to be busy, and we have to stay vigilant. We have more people working on content than we do at any other point in the year. So there's people that come in, and we have to work with them and make sure that they're on the ball with everything that's going on. So it's a lot of work goes into managing things day to day just now. But we thank everyone again. I mean, all the podcasters that have been involved in Anfield Index this year, all of the writers, all of the people that help with video, with Jack and Dave Davis, Trev Downey, Dave Hendrick, Guy Drinkle, yourself. I mean, the work that goes on is truly phenomenal. And every day kind of starts wondering, what's going to happen and how we're going to manage this workload. And then you get to the end of the day, you go to bed to think, wow, we did it again. You know what I mean? We smashed it. We got through absolutely everything that we aimed to. And the thanks goes to all of them. But of course, the main thank you goes to everyone that listens, that reads, that subscribes to Anfield Index, that engages with our social media posts, that listens to our podcast, that reads our articles. You are the reason we do it. We wouldn't be here without you after all these years. So it's you that has to be thanked the most. And I'm glad that you get to the end of the season and you can all call yourself champions, because that's what we are.
Indeed, indeed. I don't think I can add or say anything more to that. So watch this space, Reds. Plenty of content coming. I'm not going to give any spoilers away. I'm enjoying this series. If you want to catch the next episode, stay tuned. And my next guest will also be as impressive as Eddie Gibbs. But guys, take care. Till next time, up the Reds.